think, but how to think. How do we think about these different problems? How do we think about our health? How do we think about our finances? How do we think about our economy? How do we think about things like war? How do we think about our entertainment options, our culture, our movie, our music? To have a program that's really invested in helping us see how to think about things is important. And I think if we begin to build that kind of conversation, that kind of media, that folks who have long left news because they know so much of it is fake and stuck on groupthink and tribalism, that they'll start to come back and they'll start to have a home where they can feel respected as individuals and be informed at the same time. But that's not what we get with so much of the media. With so much of the media, it's all about how can we use this event to manipulate our audience to the benefit of the folks who've hired us. That's what we have to think about when we look at media. We have to analyze them as entities that are hired guns for special interests. The only interest that we're concerned with in this program is the interest of human liberty. We're interested in a family-friendly atmosphere. And you can't have liberty without a pro-family society with virtue. And you can't have a pro-family virtuous society without human liberty. They go hand in hand. Liberty is not given to us by government. It's something that's intrinsic to us. It's something that's given to us by our Creator. And so when we have a right to self-defense, that is not something that government has any right to meddle with and say, well, you can have a self-defense, but not this gun, not this bullet, not this way, not that way. No, that's not how it works. Same thing goes with speech. You can have speech, but you can't say this, can't say that, can't say this, can't say that. And they always use that trope about, well, you can't shout fire in a crowded theater. Well, that's never been a right because that's someone's private property. If someone owns a theater, then you don't have your First Amendment right on that theater if they don't want you to. If they say you don't shout blah, 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 if you want to be in my theater, that's a private business. That's a voluntary contract that you've entered into by watching the movie. The First Amendment applies to the federal government. It doesn't apply to businesses. But all those values that we have must be fought for within every generation. So if you're listening to this program and you say, you know what, I don't typically listen to news programs. I want to just check out with entertainment or maybe sports, which is fine. Just remember that at some point, if you're not paying attention to politics, politics will pay attention to you. If you're not paying attention to what's going on in the swamp and its tentacles will soon have their presence in your life in ways that you won't like. And in many cases, they already do. And in fact, government always has the impact in your life, whether you see it or not. But if you don't fight for your liberty, it can go away in a heartbeat. Politicians depend on people being distracted by shiny toys and lunchroom drama while they grift and take billions of your dollars and tell you that they're doing it for your interests. And what do they do with that money? They hand it to their friends. They hand it to their government bureaucrats. They hand it to their foreign country leaders. They hand it to favored corporations. Don't ever let the left tell you that they are the anti-corporation party. They got more billionaires than the Republicans do. The difference is the left plays ball when it comes to fully embracing the cultural nihilism that seems to be fashionable by the elitists of our society. Whereas the right is more, I say, you know, the left has turned into this creepy cult, this creepy, evil cult. And the right is like a bunch of used car salesmen that are really sleazy. And you're like, wait a second. You know, now if you're stuck in a really, you know, dramatic situation and you got to choose a team, I guess the, you know, sleazy car salesman is going to be a little bit closer down to home, down, you know, a little bit closer to earth, a little bit more down to earth than the creepy cult that has this weird, like, hell-bent desire to remake the human species into this weird, fake, utopian nonsense. The left seems to hate any kind of boundaries on desire. They don't want to have any order. They don't want to have family normalized. They want to make everything just a postmodern social construct. Whatever you feel, whatever you desire, it's all whatever you socially construct. And that is not a healthy way to have a civilization. So when I talk about having a family-friendly society, I'm talking about a society that pushes back against the nihilism that has attempted to be normalized by the left. And you see them put on children. I remember they put that Desmond drag kid, 9 or 10-year-old kid, on Good Morning America, normalizing that. This is the same kid who was put on a video with a guy who was a convicted murderer, who had the name of a date rape drug listed above the kid's head during the video. And that's what Good Morning America, aka Disney, thinks is good to normalize that kind of role model. You know, that's what we're talking about when we talk about having a family-friendly society. We have to be able to push back against that kind of disgusting attack against innocence and attack against boundaries. The left has a religious devotion to eliminating all boundaries on personal desire. And so, you know, you can make a kind of common sense headway with some of the you can make some common sense connections with some of the crooked used car salesmen on the right, but it's hard to break through to a left wing when it has become so hardened into a religious zeal that includes personal, unlimited desire for whatever you want with no moral restraint, with a centralized state that has global interconnectedness and is able to monitor you, surveil you, eliminate your bank account if you go against anything they don't like, you know, surveil you, frame you, do whatever they want, as long as they allow you to have unlimited personal nihilistic vice. That's the bargain the left offers you. Surrender to a perpetual intrusion of state into every aspect of your lives, ruining your ability. You can't start a business without them destroying the ability to do anything creative. If you want to create low-temperature nuclear reaction, you get no support. You have to go into solar or wind farms or things that are not as, effective for government to throw tons and tons of money your way. You want to solve cancer using non-toxic things that can't be patented, things like ketosis, therapeutic ketosis, like Dr. Thomas Seyfried, or Dr. Michael Lasanti, using antibiotics like doxycycline and using azithromycin, Z-Pak, to kill off cancer stem cells. There's not a lot of money there. They have to get support from, private foundations who are bold and looking ahead of the curve. But government, they'll throw millions and millions and billions of dollars on no-win solutions that are not very effective at eliminating cancer without massive side effects and terrible, ill consequences. So that's what I'm telling you. What the left wing offers you is personal, unlimited nihilism, meaning whatever you want, your desire is allowed to go undisturbed, and nobody is allowed to judge you. And in exchange for that personal, vice-filled, unlimited desires that you want, they want to control every aspect of your life, what you can think, what you can look at, what you can say, where you can travel, who you can talk to, what you can think, what you can eat, what medicine you are forced to put into your body, That's what their offer is. And unfortunately, millions of people around the world have taken up that offer. But fortunately, I think many, many more are realizing that offer is a joke and they're throwing it in the trash where it belongs. We'll be back live on A Neighbor's Choice. I'm David Gornosky. You can call in at 727-587-1040. That's 727-587-1040. Back in a moment.
A lawsuit is not something that anyone looks forward to. It's a stressful process. There are attorneys in Tampa Bay that keep clients well informed, creating less stress. That law firm is Catania Catania. Personal injury law is defended with full disclosure. There is no guessing game. If it's an auto accident, medical malpractice, nursing home negligence, unsafe working conditions, or motorcycle accidents, the law firm of Catania Catania will handle the process worry-free from start to finish. Many victims don't realize they have a claim for the loss until they talk to Catania Catania. They only represent private individuals and treat every case as if it's going to trial. Putting families first is more than just a slogan. It's their way of practicing law. It's a commitment to you. Remember, they don't get paid if you don't get paid. So go to CataniaCatania.com. Over 28 years in practice. Catania Catania personal injury, auto, and motorcycle accident attorneys. Catania Catania, putting families first.
Office Tampa. Not attorney spokeswoman.
If you want to grow your savings these days, it's good to own gold. Who wants to hold dollars in a savings account earning 0.5%? Instead, check out Monetary Metals, started by my frequent guest, Keith Weiner. They put your gold to work, and you earn 2 to 4% interest, paid out not in dollars, but in more ounces of gold. Plus, there are 0 vault fees. With several active deals open right now, they're taking new clients today. Learn more at interestongold.com/David. That's interestongold.com/David.
Brandon Ford ended last year as the largest volume Ford dealer in America. And with just 3 short months left to 2020, Brandon Ford's in a neck-and-neck battle with a dealer just outside the Ford headquarters in Detroit. And Brandon Ford has a lot on the line. Becoming the world's largest volume Ford dealer is hard, but staying the number one Ford dealer is even harder. So during the battle to be number one, they're making every deal, and the prices are crazy. Like 2020 F-150 STX demo specials for just $31,900. Everything's on sale. No exceptions, no exclusions, all month long. Brandon Ford's entire inventory, 2,000 vehicles, has been slashed to sell vehicles at an incredible pace. Increase our lead and keep the heat on during the battle for number one. So come in today. The deals are going to be stupid. Brandon Ford, the largest volume Ford dealer in America. Highway 60 and 301 in Tampa, or at BrandonFord.com.
If you want to pay less, help Brandon Ford win the battle for number one.
Our Neighbor's Choice is back. Seven 727-587-1040 is the number to call. 727-587-1040. And I saw this meme. It's of Barack Obama. It says, if you're walking down the right path and you're willing to keep walking, eventually you'll make progress. The question is, what are you making progress for, Barack? Are you making progress for the enrichment of the banks against the few? Using the Fed to pump money, trillions of dollars into their pockets while depriving the public of their ability to save and start a business? Or maybe you're making progress for the drone strikes that you leveled against people who were just citizens minding their own business around the Middle East. Or maybe you're making progress, Barack, with what you did to Libya on behalf of the special interests that wanted you to help prosecute that war with air support. Or Syria, did you make progress there, turning that country into a really divided mess where ISIS and Al-Qaeda were able to make a lot of terrifying, terrible things to people? Did you make progress in Yemen, Barack, where you put up this starvation campaign that starved a lot of innocent people, people that wanted to have hopes and dreams and audacities of their fathers just like yours, Barack? And they're not able to do that today because you decided to make progress on behalf of the special interests that wanted to carve up Yemen and carve up Libya and make money out of Afghanistan. So that's the kind of clowns that you get in this clown media world that we're in. But the good news is that we're able to cut through this and find the glimmers of hope that we can build on and that we can make progress with. You see another story, they were trying to go after the White House physician, Sean Conley. They kept trying to say that he was part of some conspiracy to hide Donald Trump's health in response to his coronavirus progress updates. The media, all they can do is get focused on the most minute details that will serve their interests, which is they want Trump out of there, and they want Joe Biden elected. And you just can't have a free press if it's going to be that one-sided for one particular government power source. If we're going to have a government, it's going to have the ability to have a free and honest press to hold it accountable no matter who's in power. Not a rigged situation like what we have today. That's like having a crooked ref. You can't have an honest game of football or basketball if you have a crooked ref who's manipulating and failing to call plays when they're happening and failing to put flags on the field, failing to acknowledge foul behavior. You cannot have a game. It's just chaos. I'm looking at a video here online of it's a video. A son. I'm just going to read the description here. A son moves his chair next to his mother to comfort her at the funeral of her late husband. A member of staff says they've been told and asked to separate. It really does highlight the cruel lack of humanity and decency in the way in which we're forced to live our lives today. So they've got all these people separated many, many feet apart. And they're at a funeral, and a staff comes in telling them they cannot hug their mother to console her because of the loss of her husband. This is the reality of the disgusting media that we have today and the disgusting government bureaucracies. They think they own your life so much they came and let a son hug his mother in a time of total despair. That means they assume that they own your life. Because if they tell you you can't hug someone when they're crying over their death of someone, that means they control what you're allowed to do at birth and death and everything in between. These are arrogant bigots. These are scoundrels. And we should vote out anybody who wants to perpetuate this kind of disgusting, cold, hateful society. This nanny state Orwellian garbage society that they want to construct for us. With fake scoundrel scandals left and right. and brutal, vicious, hateful, anti-human policies that are not based in science, but are based in an arrogant assumption that they own you. And it's sad, the youth, younger people, millennials, Generation Z, they're supposed to have that rebellious spirit. And yet here they are acting like a bunch of conservative reactionaries that want to go along with these mass mandates and these forced things where people can't even hug their mother during their death of their husband. And meanwhile, 74-year-old overweight Donald Trump gets off of this virus in a few days. He's back going. Meanwhile, remember when they have their funerals for their political figures that they like in the state religion. They're allowed to have big gatherings. When they have BLM rallies in the streets and Antifa mob rioting in the streets, nobody stops that. So it's just pure hypocrisy. Pure, arrogant hypocrisy. I don't see how anybody could stand living in this society. And if you stick your head in the sand and consume sports and entertainment and don't push back and get involved in this, then you're the clown that's going to be receiving worse and worse tyranny. We'll be back in just a second on A Neighbor's Choice.
Ronald Reagan would turn over in his grave if he saw what's going on today.
Crazy things are happening.
You cannot be afraid. You've got to stand up for what you believe is right.
But one thing is for sure.
You can't trust anybody.
For talk, news, and information, you can count on us.
Enough is enough. I almost blew a gasket.
Good for the country.
I know what I'm talking about. A lot of wackos out there.
Your connection to talk about it. The all-new News Talk 1040, WHP.
President Trump is expected to leave Walter Reed National Military Medical Center in about an hour from now after spending the past few days there being treated for COVID-19. His personal physician, Dr. Sean Conley, says the president still isn't completely, in his words, out of the woods, but he can continue to recuperate at home.
We're going to do whatever it takes for the president to safely conduct business wherever it is he needs to do within the residence and White House.
But Conley won't say much about the president's treatment.
He's on a routine regimen of COVID therapy. I'm not going to go into specifics as to what he is and is not on.
Over the weekend, though, Connolly said Mr. Trump was being treated with steroids and with 2 experimental protocols, antiviral drug remdesivir and an antibody cocktail. More members of the president's inner circle, meanwhile, are testing positive. One of the latest to say so is the White House press secretary, Kayleigh McEnany. Daria Albinger, ABC News.
So those on the left continue to be the party of fear, the party of hate, of personal, nasty, snarling hatred for humanity. I'll show you this example. Tim O'Brien, he was at Bloomberg Opinion. He says a humbling Herman Cain coronavirus timeline. 624 attends Trump rally maskless. 7-2 tests positive for COVID-19. 7-10 says he's improving. 7-15 says his doctors seem happy. 7-27 says he's really getting better. 7:30 dies. And they're trying to tweet this out ad nauseum because Trump says he's leaving Walter Reed Medical Center in about an hour from now. So that's what they cheer for. And of course, anything can happen in life. But look at what the left wing focuses on. They fixate on death. They fixate on fear. They fixate on hate. That's why they want to elect a guy like Biden and Harris, who are going to continually promise. That's why they teamed up with all the neocons. And that's why they want to hire a Biden or a Kamala Harris to bomb people all over the world, bomb children, bomb families, bomb innocent people, starve people with sanctions. And I disagree with Trump on his sanctions. I don't think we should have sanctions on Iran. I don't think we should have sanctions in Yemen. I don't think we should be involved in blockading that country. But the left is even more bloodthirsty for perpetual sanctions and bombs and involvement. They want regime change to to continue to ramp up in Syria, as if that country hasn't been put through enough hell from the bigots like John Kerry and Obama and Clinton. These people they're just fixating on death. That's all they ever think about. They want to be able to eliminate children after they're born. They want to be able to bomb people and have no accountability. If you want to start a business that's full of life, they've got to crush it. They don't want you to have your freedom. They want you to sit and get your little universal basic income and get your little, your little Amazon delivery of your Soylent Green and just sit down and shut up and probably get you a little Neuralink or something implanted in your head and just be a little bored. What a pathetic way to live. To just have nothing but fear and death to speak out of your mouth. Speaking of death, think about all of the people in poorer countries who are going to have massive, massive health and death situations occur because of the awful economic shutdowns that left-wing bureaucrats have administered all over this world. Not just America. All of the people in poorer countries who depend on this world economy to function at a certain pace and to have all of it so shut down, and what that does for countries in very poor areas is absolutely deadly. Think about how many people the left-wing government bureaucracy continues to mislead in their fake information about food and nutrition science. Everything they sow is just death and hate. It's pathetic. I'm so sick of these bullies, these losers that want to bully people into their hatred. I saw people showing videos of people dancing in excitement when they heard that Donald Trump contracted coronavirus. These people are jokes. They're so immature, but yet these are adults and they're voting. To have these ignorant people who love to celebrate death and nihilism vote is more deadly than anybody owning a gun. They use that ballot to do more destruction and harm to human life. Than almost anything you can imagine with a conventional weapon. And that's sad. And there are millions of good people who are true liberals and true progressives who are not fitting this fixation with death. But there are far too many folks who have been normalized to continue this awful fixation by the corporate press that it needs to be challenged. It needs to be called out for what it is. A sick obsession with death and failure. They always talk about, we got too many humans. We got to get people to stop breeding. That's death. We've got too much, economic markets. Let's eliminate the rest of the free market. That's death. We need to give more spending, more control of our health care to the same government that lied about the single-payer nutrition that they provided and have sickened generations of people. Government health care cannot fix what government nutrition science broke. But they don't care. They just want surrender to their gods. See, that's the big myth that we have today. People think, oh, we are past religion. No, we're not past religion. We have a religious cult that worships the state. They worship human sacrifice for the greater good. You can sacrifice children in the womb, they say. You can sacrifice your neighbor to a cage if they don't obey a mask mandate. You can sacrifice your neighbor who wants to hug their mother during the death of her husband at a funeral. You can sacrifice in the most callous, pathetic, disgusting, anti-human way imaginable, as long as it is for the greater good of this state that you must worship. A state that does nothing but spread misery with its nihilistic values and decadence. And that left wing has to be challenged, and it has to come from my generation. They have to have a renaissance. We need to have hope in this country. We can't live in fear. We can't live fixated like these clowns, these pathetic losers on the left. Donald Trump, he hasn't met the timeline that Herman Cain did, and Herman Cain died. That's all you got? Like, you're such a loser, such pathetic people. That's all you talk about is, oh, maybe you could still die. That's all you've got. What a bunch of clowns. All they do is complain. They don't offer any solutions, this ideology. It's not the people. They're just mouthpieces for a wicked ideology that's against humans. Juan Online says leftists have to be defeated. That's right. But more importantly, the ideology, the idea behind this garbage has to be demolished. And that means we cannot make excuses for the right wing either when they use the state to sacrifice some for the greater good, for wars we shouldn't be in, for government spending in our lives that we shouldn't be doing. So it cuts both ways. And the only way we can win this battle is if we understand the principles that are underlying these bad policies and then beat them intellectually and culturally. That means we have to make better movies. We have to make better music. And I'm not saying like little sentimental, conservative ink movies that are boring sentimentalism garbage. I'm talking about good movies, good art, good architecture. We have to make the best paintings, the best, poetry, the best performance art, best television programs, best documentaries. We have to make great films, great works, great paintings that inspire hope and imagination and creativity. And then when it comes to solving the problems that the left pretends to want to solve, but actually just want to give power to the state to act like they're solving, we have to solve the problems that the left. See, my whole theory is that human beings will continue to sycophantically drift towards more and more centralized government. The more we don't have solutions for two areas that are essential for modern living. That is, a healthcare system which actually deals with the massive amounts of chronic illnesses that have been plaguing modern human beings for some time. That means you have to have a healthcare system that actually deals with these major diseases and deals with them without breaking the bank financially, without breaking the body with side effects. So here are the two things. You got healthcare and you got energy. I think those are the two areas that the state has been able to suck people into total submission to say, well, I am liberty oriented, or I am this or that, I am independent, but we need the state to save us from climate change. We need the state to save us from a new virus or a chronic illness. And so as long as the public continues to drift in those directions of saying, yeah, I'm limited government, except for we have to have the state manage our health care, it has to manage our environment, our pollution, our energy production. As long as we believe that, we'll continue to have the state become a bigger and bigger menace for all of us. But if those who love liberty, those who love families, those who love decency and goodness, if we join up together in the marketplace and create the healthcare solutions for chronic illnesses and infectious diseases, if we create them without relying on a dime of government to subsidize our efforts, and if we create them in a way that are more effective decisively than the government invested solutions, then we will win the future. And if those of us who love liberty and pro-family environments, if we're the ones that get ahead of the curve when it comes to energy, and we come up with energy too cheap to meter without requiring a dime from government or a dime from establishment, academia places, then we can show the public that the two areas in which they feel like the state is most necessary, needing to take over our lives for us, that is healthcare, environment, energy, if we can solve those problems with freedom, with market innovation, and beat those problems way faster and way better than the government pretends to, then I believe that that will be a big, big opportunity for millions of people who are currently, basically stuck on depending on the state for their life, to look back and say, you know what? Actually, we solved pollution. We solved carbon emissions with a free market entity that loves liberty. And we solved illnesses without government health care with liberty. Then I think that the public will say, you know what? I guess this God of the state that I've been worshiping for my problems isn't so hot after all. Maybe freedom's okay after all. And where freedom can flourish, the family can flourish. It all goes hand in hand. If you see them all connect, then you'll see how it all works together. Juan says, the biggest tragedy is that people today simply can't even imagine how great a fully private and free market healthcare system would be. And that's another great point. Another listener says, all liberalism has been put in the realm of the sexual. The more distracting, barrier breaking it is, the more it is promoted as a virtue. There's actually very little liberalism in any other area by design. That's an interesting way to look at it. And I guess what he's suggesting is that the idea of liberalism there, of freedom, right, personal freedom, that all the culture really, really emphasizes personal freedom in the world of sexual desire, but doesn't allow a lot of personal freedom in, how you're allowed to create medicine, or how you're allowed to create energy, or how you're allowed to build a home, right? And because it's focused on liberating man, so-called, in the world of sexual desire, it creates the nihilism, it creates the broken families, it creates the distractions that then cause a society to lose its focus, to lose its edge, and to lose its love of liberty, which is necessary for a country and a society to flourish. A society has to save money and create wealth for it to continually grow. If it is a stagnant, zero-sum environment in which wealth is not building the pie, right? If the pie is stagnant, it doesn't matter how much you want to say good things or do this or do that, it's going to turn people towards scapegoating one another and then turning to the state as the ultimate sacrificer to make things right. Tyranny thrives in a zero-sum environment. Tyranny thrives when people don't believe that you can solve big problems anymore except through politics. And politics brings out the worst in people, which is why we have a mainstream left wing that laughs when Donald Trump gets sick. And then when he says he's come out of the hospital, they say, well, look, Herman Cain died later too, so maybe that could happen. This is what you get. You think this is normal for humans to think like this and act like this? No. Or at least in the old times, you wouldn't hear those voices amplified as much and parroted as much. These sick, pathological ways of talking about things and being fixated on death and and these left-wing people worshiping Trump, it's a symptom of a society that has lost a vision and is therefore fixated on lunchroom drama politics. But A Neighbor's Choice is here, and we're going to unpack how to move out of this slump in our society and how to move to a better direction. Our website, aneighborschoice.com. You can call us 727-587-1040 if you have a comment on air, or contact us on YouTube, Facebook, or email us, hello@aneighborschoice.com. Plenty of ways to get in touch with us. We appreciate your contributions as always. Back in a second. David Granosky here. Let me tell you about a man named Gabriel. Every day, Gabriel puts on his boots and drives across America to make sure our store shelves stay stocked with the food people count on. See, Gabriel served our country overseas. He knows that America stands for freedom, quality, and caring for others the way we would like to be treated. That's why when Gabriel saw food shelves getting low during the pandemic, he hit the road as a driver with Oakley Transport. In the land of the free, where no one should go hungry, we need heroes like Gabriel to help keep America fed. CDLA driving professionals. Join Oakley Transport today. Keep America fed. Visit oakleytransport.com or call them today at 1-877-8-TANKER. That's 1-877-8-TANKER.
A lawsuit is not something that anyone looks forward to. It's a stressful process. There are attorneys in Tampa Bay that keep clients well informed, creating less stress. That law firm is Catania Catania. Personal injury law is defended with full disclosure. There is no guessing game. If it's an auto accident, medical malpractice, nursing home negligence, unsafe working conditions, or motorcycle accidents, the law firm of Catania Catania will handle the process worry-free from start to finish. Many victims don't realize they have a claim for the loss until they talk to Catania Catania. They only represent private individuals and treat every case as if it's going to trial. Putting families first is more than just a slogan. It's their way of practicing law. It's a commitment to you. Remember, they don't get paid if you don't get paid. So go to CataniaCatania.com. Over 28 years in practice. Catania Catania, personal injury, auto, and motorcycle accident attorneys. Catania Catania, putting families first.
Office Tampa.
Not attorney spokeswoman.
If you want to grow your savings these days, it's good to own gold. Who wants to hold dollars in a savings account earning 0.5%? Instead, check out Monetary Metals, started by my frequent guest, Keith Weiner. They put your gold to work, and you earn 2 to 4% interest, paid out not in dollars, but in more ounces of gold. Plus, there are 0 vault fees. With several active deals open right now, they're taking new clients today. Learn more at interestongold.com/David. That's interestongold.com/David. Our Neighbor's Choice is back. I'm your host, David Granosky. So in just a few minutes, we're going to see at 6:30, Donald Trump is supposed to come out of the front doors of the Walter Reed Medical Hospital. He's shooting a video now. And then he's going to make a dramatic walk to the car and then into the Marine One to go back to the White House. So he's always a person that likes theatrics. He always likes to, lean into the moment and to tell his personal story the way he wants to. And the media, of course, hates it because this virus is supposed to be their political tool. A tool that would incite fear and submission to a very entrenched, centralized control of health freedom. And it's not going the way they want. It never does. Remember, they impeached him. You don't even think about impeachment now. They ruined the aura of impeachment. Impeachment feels so cheap and weak now. It's because he doesn't play their script. He doesn't play their narrative. Bush played the narrative. McCain, Romney, Bush Sr., Obama, they played the narrative. But Donald Trump goes off script. And so it ruins the theatrics of the sacred aura of the state because he plays his own style of theatrics, which kind of just is discordant from the way they want to do it. Meanwhile, you have Joe Biden, and every time he speaks, he says things that just so strange. He says, the reason I was able to stay at home during the pandemic is because black women were able to keep the grocery shelves stocked. So this is how people, little puppets like him, that's how they think of voters, that you could just randomly insert any, demographic name check, so to speak, into a sentence and that, oh, okay, I'll vote for you now. It's so patronizing and pathetic, They don't even know how to connect with people on a real human level. They just play a game. They're so fake, so try-hard. And I think that people are seeing through this. And I hope that more importantly than who wins the election, that this is the beginning of a renaissance in our country, of us unifying around love of our neighbor and taking care of ourselves closer to home. We have to remember what made America special and why millions of people still want to come to America and millions of people imitate America when they think of freedom. We need to stop being for freedom in name only and start actually remembering what freedom looks like. It'll be freedom that gives us healthcare solutions that actually work. It'll be freedom that gives us educational revolutions that actually empower the human person and create diverse thinkers. It'll be freedom that allows families to flourish once again intact without being decimated by the welfare machine. It'll be freedom that unleashes the potential for us to go to other planets, to visit and establish outlets of the human species and other planets, and perhaps one day beyond our solar system. Freedom, not this dying God called the state. That's where we'll give our opportunities from. That's where we'll get our excitement from. That's where we'll get our hope. When we have freedom, then we can imagine and dream what we want to dream. We can create the kind of amazing homes and beautiful architecture that you can't even think of right now. It'll be freedom that allows us to create energy too cheap to meter, harnessing the natural powers of the universe. Freedom will allow us to take trash and turn it into rare earths and precious metals. Freedom will do that. Freedom is what will bring those opportunities into our reality. But freedom's not some ideology either. It just means you and I working together without having coercion bind us together. You see? It's not a magical ideology. It's not a panacea. It's not a fix-all. It's just allowing us to work together without tyranny, without coercion, mucking it all up. That's what we have with freedom. The opportunity to get along without having violence mess it all up. When we get violence out of our way, and that's what the state, that's what politics is. It produces violence, and it produces hatred, and it produces fixation on personal squabbles rather than unifying missions, unifying visions. But freedom is what we can build together in this moment. We can build that in the things that we cherish and fight for. So fight for your freedom. Speak out for your liberty. Understand your liberty. Understand where it comes from. Don't take it for granted. And use it to serve your neighbor in wonderful and new and amazing ways. It's better to give than to receive. So give your liberty, give your talents in service of your neighbor. I'm David Gronowski. You can email me hello@aneighborschoice.com. That's hello@aneighborschoice.com.
Your home for news, talk, and information. 1040 WHBO Pinellas Park, Tampa Bay's